Hey everybody, it's Mike.
And Katie.
And this week, what are we talking about, Katie?
Today, it's episode 82, and it's all about Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
And actually, a whole lot more on this week's episode of...
Cup of...
Rad. Hey everybody, it's Mike here, and it's another week. We're coming at you with some things.
So many things.
Yeah, we kind of filled this one. This is a supersized episode.
I don't know what happened, like how we managed to find all this time to watch all these things.
I think I had my allergies this time around, and I just didn't want to do a whole lot, so that helped.
You're like, I'm sitting on the couch.
Yeah.
This is what's happening.
So that is what happened.
Yeah,
so.
there's that.
So today we're sipping on our Spent Grounds coffee.
Our amazingness. It makes the room smell so good.
It's fantastic coffee.
I wish everyone could enjoy this.
Yeah, it is really sad that it is a small batch.
So you're going to go buy some more.
Oh yeah, we can't. Whenever I say that we're gonna have crappy coffee.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's like, so by the way, we're gonna have crappy grocery store coffee pretty soon. Boo hiss. It's like, can't let that happen.
No, not at all.
My poor taste buds.
Not at all. So let's do the elephant in the room.
Elephant in the room.
So we'll do a couple rad stance here because, as you've seen in the world and all that, there's a lot of things going on right now.
Oh yes,
a lot of bad things happening, and a
lot of positive movement
from it, of course. And really, I think both of our stances on the whole thing came beautifully. Eloquently put,
yes,
for myself, from the band Radkey, a punk rock band. They posted peace, love, equality, and fuck racism.
Yeah, that's pretty much sums it up right there.
So that's my stance, and Black lives do matter.
Yep. And
that's what needs to be shown, is that they need help right now to show their plight and their safety in the country that they're in, the country that they're born in.
That they're citizens, and they're generations of citizens, and they deserve to live and be free and have the same respect as every other person.
Yep.
Humanity is humanity.
At the end of the day, we're all red, pink, and bony on the inside and fleshy.
Fleshy.
Once you rip off that skin, we're all the same.
There you go.
So, just peace, love, equality, and fuck racism.
Well said.
So, with that, what are you gonna do today?
Well, we're gonna just get right into the meat of it. We're going to go for Raiders of the Lost Ark.
There we go. Yeah. So we are
dragging it out and being like, waiting for the big, big show.
Oh, we're just going to go for the money shot right at the bat.
Go for the money shot and then just have a whole lot of bonus fun things afterwards.
There you go. Something different. We're rolling this a little differently, which will be fantastic for y'all. So it is Indiana June for us.
Yes.
That is right. Indiana June is coming at you. So each week we will be talking about Indiana Jones in some form.
In some form.
Preferably it'll end up being each movie. So this is part 1, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
So Raiders is about Dr. Indiana Jones. He is an archaeologist, teacher. He gets brought in by the American government to go find artifact that Hitler is looking for.
Oh, no. He got brought in by a museum.
Museum, right? Yeah.
Because the government would never want to worry about such power. Wink, nod. Ha ha. Anyways.
And from that, then, he goes on this grand adventure trying to get it before the Nazis get it.
Yeah.
So...
damn Nazis.
It's always good when we can punch a Nazi in the face.
Yes.
So Indiana Jones was made by George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. It was an ode to the pulp hero of their youth.
Yeah.
That kind of, underdog schlockiness that was, from the radio serials that they came from. So when it came out in 1984 there, it was huge because it was different.
Yeah,
right?
It is totally unique.
And it... has stood, I think, the test of time because it is a classic. And the thing that I think is interesting is that Raiders was nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah, that's just super impressive because you would never see a movie like that made nowadays be nominated for Best Picture.
Very rarely.
I remember Kiddo was quite surprised. He thought that was really cool, but he was just like, "What? Like this would have been Best Picture, you know?"
Yeah.
Well, I remember one thing you had pointed out was what was so amazing about it is the sheer amount of real effects.
Yes.
And how seamlessly they still stand up, honestly.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of great effects there. Like, you know, the practicalness of just the traps and all that. Like, it really, when you rewatch it over time, it really gives you that feeling of, it is that nostalgia, but you long for that in movies again.
Yeah.
And I think that's why some movies do stand out when they are lower budget. And they are able to do certain things that big movies can't, because they themselves cannot. They have to find ways to do it. Yeah. Right. So that was one thing the entire time when I was rewatching this. And Raiders has got to be in my top films.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. So.
You know, because...
But it makes sense. I mean, and because it does still stand
Here's
up,
a controversial take. It was a Marvel movie before Marvel movies.
Yeah, there you go.
Watch Raiders again and tell me it isn't, because it has the action, the humor, the romance, the goofiness, right? And the bad guy.
And the clear bad guy.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is it falls into that whole, you know...
and the supernaturally aspect to everything, right?
Right. So, yeah.
I love seeing the architecture and the old history. Like when they open up that temple, the whole room where the Ark is hidden and the giant Anubis statues and everything. Oh, it's so awesome. And I know it's totally made up, but it's super awesome because, you know, there at some point there was something like that existed. And it was just really cool to see the concept of it. I love ancient Greek and ancient Egyptian and everything. So,
well, yeah, if it's older culture-wise than you...
If it's old, I like it.
But... just how it even opens, like the fact that you don't see Indy for like the longest time.
Right. I really noticed that how clear it was when he was like, it was very purposeful of the delay.
Yeah. Before. And even when you do see it, it is, you know, it's done in a few shots and it's like the whip comes out and all that. And
he's this air of mystery about him, right?
Yeah. He definitely has he still has that Han Solo swagger to him, though, right?
Totally. A few of the lines, I was like, oh, that was totally Han Solo right there.
Right?
Like, you can tell that it is just, he had just ingrained that in him almost, right? So
it's like they couldn't keep making Star Wars movies, so we're just going to do this other character. So it doesn't help fuel the whole fan theory that it's just his dreams when he's in the carbonite, right?
I never heard that.
Oh, yeah?
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's one of the, like, the fanfic kind of...
That's funny.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, I'll roll with it. That's cool. It's impressive imagination, considering there's nothing like that you've ever seen in the Star Wars universe, but sure.
No, but you never know.
You never know what Han has seen in all his travels, though, right?
Exactly.
I like that he's a professor in his dreams, though. Because that makes sense.
Well... everyone likes to connect things, right?
A very strong female, which is very similar to Leia, honestly. Yep. And I want you to love me, but I don't. And you're a horrible person. So, you know, back and forth, right? Yeah. I love you and you're amazing, but oh my God.
You know, one thing I realized when I was watching this, I was like, Indiana Jones could have easily been America's answer to James Bond. Yeah. They could have recast every few movies and, you know, just continued those Pulp Fiction adventures, right? But then I looked at it more as we watched it. He's like the anti-James Bond because everything he does goes wrong.
Well, everything is an accident.
Yeah, everything, it just falls into place, right? Like, he doesn't really get the girl. He's always battling her as compared to James Bond. He just winks and he's in bed with her. You know, all the vehicles he drives break down or blow up. Yeah. You know, he doesn't hit all his marks perfectly, right? So it's like the anti-James Bond. I thought it was an interesting thing to see, right?
Yeah, well, it shows then with the James Bond aspect, though, how much more audience over here really, and we've seen it more and more, grab onto a actor is a certain character rather than the character is more like a book where it can look like anything, but it's the core character attributes. Yeah. And then we assign a visual to it, and it's like, well, there's no other way. It has to be this person. You know, rather than this character has been created and any people can personify that character, right? Yeah. So it's interesting to see that. So what did Kiddo think?
He really liked it. Yeah. He was having fun with it.
I know he'd seen it when he was much younger a long time ago, but
He didn't remember it.
First off, his face when the bad guys were melting in the light of our god power was phenomenal.
Right.
He was just like impressed, eyes huge, wide, mortified all at the same time.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
So that was a fabulous turning point, and I like the concept with it. That they're like, you know what, we have to close our eyes, and that's the idea that regardless of beliefs, the power that would be involved in a object of that nature is too great. It's like a Pandora's box feels too great for any human to lay eyes upon. And if you do, then you have this wrath. It's just too much for our brains to comprehend and to deal with and power to control. And you're not meant to see it. You're not meant to witness it. And the mystique is part of the power, and the unknowable is part of that power. And I like that it's portrayed that way. You know, there's no defeating it. There's no surviving it. There's no strong is better than the other one type of person. It's just greed, or, you know, just faith and belief, or, you know, those are the coins that turn the tides, right? So
yeah, he really liked the truck scene.
Yes,
that was something that he really liked. He liked seeing how much he had to go through.
Oh, the climbing around all over on the outside and then underneath it, and
well, I think that's the thing that's nice is because it's a slow scene. It is a slow scene, but it's a fast-paced, slow scene, if that makes sense. Like, because like the stunting and all that, because it's all so real. There's nothing at one point where there's wires or like it's... He
doesn't go careening or flying around the back and, you know... Like
no flips and...
somehow avoiding gravity and everything.
Yeah. So that's, I think, what's beautiful about it, right? Like...
Well, and one thing, too, is that the movie itself goes to a lot of different sets. Mm-hmm. Like, it really travels.
And pretty seamlessly.
Yeah, like, it feels like it could be a really long movie because there's actually so much that goes on. And I had forgotten about... kind of blending a little bit of them together and like, oh wait, no, this is actually all in this same movie. Like, I forget. It's impressive.
That's why I think the movie itself is so epic, because it did hit so many points. It had all those things that you know, it started with the mystery and adventure, and then that really didn't have much to do with the adventure that you were going on. You know, that's something that I do like about a lot of the older James Bond movies too, right? Is that opening scene is just an action scene that really never has... Yeah. And that's something I always wish that you would see in superhero movies, like Batman or something like that. Like, you know, throw in some of those lesser villains that we don't necessarily need a whole movie about. And
5 minutes are fine.
Yeah. You know, and then go into the credits, right? Like, and that's kind of what this does. It follows that formula. A little action scene. You get some hint because it was the guy.
You get buildup of the character and a backstory, and then you realize that now you've just been introduced to his arch enemy. Yeah. And it didn't take much. You didn't have to know anything up until that point. You're just like, oh, that guy shows up.
And then you really don't find out that he's part of this whole ploy until, you know, 30 minutes later.
Right. And then you get introduced to who, you know, Indiana Jones is what he's capable of, right? And I love Salah. He's so happy. And such a wonderful character.
Oh, yeah.
He makes me so happy.
I just have a hard time with, I always hear the Disneyland ride.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I'm watching this movie and I'm like, I'm hearing his voice. Every single time I hear it, I keep just going back to the ride, and I hear his safety protocols. Yeah. And, you know, easy on the brakes. Yeah. And all this sort of stuff. And I was just like, it's so weird because it's just been super ingrained in that. It's just solid.
I think I know the ride more than I know the movies in a lot of cases, which is really weird.
I kept waiting for him to say these lines. Like, no, that's not it.
You're ready to quote something and it's just shooting you down because it's not the movie.
I'm quoting the ride.
Sequel, and you're like,
yeah.
So just gonna find you somewhere, just sitting there holding on to something this month, pretending you're on the Temple of Forbidden Eye.
Yeah.
There we go. We need to add that.
Even Kiddo knows that ride more, and so he thought the same thing, that it was just such a weird concept that he hears this voice and it's like it's Disneyland. Like, it's like a gut reaction where you're like flashbacks of subconscious like memories flowing back. You're like, I need to buckle up. I need to hold on to something. Things are gonna jump out at me. Don't look in the eye.
I need to like paint an eye somewhere in the house,
right?
And just be like,
make a forbidden temple.
Yeah.
Well, see, now we need to base it we've been talking about having our like Disney themed nights. There you go. We need to make an Indiana Jones themed night. Can make some sort of like booby traps. Can we set booby traps for Kiddo? If he steps on something, somebody shoots at him. That would be hilarious.
I can throw things at him.
Yeah. Well, you got a Nerf.
You guys broke my arrow, so.
I know. He broke your arrow.
Yeah.
It was devastating. I was trying so hard to fix it.
You can't break that tubing.
I know. I'm looking at him like, how can I fix this?
I'm glad you got hurt, though.
Yeah. I was so. Anyways.
But anyways, segue. What are some of your favorite parts then from Raiders?
I liked the finale aspect. That one, I'm going all over the place, by the way. This is not in any sort of order.
Well, that's what makes it fantastic.
I like that.
They have to piece it all together.
Right. I like when they first open, like the success of opening the door and finding using the staff, finding the spot, and opening the whole pit to where the Ark is. And that whole scene there, because they, as I say, the newest statues just jump right at you and dropping into the pit of snakes, which I've always thought were weird, that they can literally sustain themselves in these temples.
They just eat each other.
And then just hang out for so long. I just always thought that was weird.
You know, you can actually in some scenes see the plexiglass that they put in there to keep the actors safe.
Oh, really? They weren't in a giant pit of snakes? I'm disappointed.
I'm sorry, I ruined it for you. There's one scene where you can get reflection.
Nice. Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, well, nowadays it would just be a bunch of CG snakes. So it would be fine. I think this is probably
the room would have been a giant green room anyway.
Yes, and so it would have been fine. So I really like that scene there, and then some of the action scenes when they're in Cairo as well. Yeah. They're running around and like when Salah shows up, or even when he catches him from eating the date and those types of things. Yeah. Just they're. Those are just fun.
Well, that's where it shows how well crafted it is, because in the whole movie is pretty solid. Like you've got with the opening and the booby traps, and then you move into going to Cairo there, and the shell game with the basket that she's in, right? Mm-hmm. And
that whole scene, by the way, I just see Lego video game. When I watched that scene, all I could think of was the Lego video game.
You know when people say sometimes songs can ruin moments for you? Lego
has ruined a lot of movies because I watch movies, I'm like, yeah, I remember this level.
Yeah. Fun fact, when he shoots the dude, that wasn't actually in the script. A lot of the cast had food poisoning, and he was supposed to actually use his whip to get rid of the guy's sword, and he couldn't do it. And because you'll notice too, he is in some of those scenes, he's a lot sweatier than in other scenes. And
yeah, he was. There was a few. One time I noticed, I was like, "Damn, he's super sweaty."
Yeah,
right now.
But it's different between scene to scene, even within that whole section,
so
right?
All cut together.
Yeah, and so he was like, basically said, "You know, why don't I just shoot him?" Mm-hmm. And so Spielberg, because Spielberg was apparently sick as well, and he was like, "Yeah, let's just do that."
It was funny. It worked out well.
So that iconic scene came from food poisoning, basically. That's
funny,
right?
Kiddo was just like, "Whoa, that's a big sword."
It's huge.
It is, right? So
someone's overcompensating.
Right, there you go. So
little Shrek moment.
But it was really fun to watch, though. I mean, you can't go wrong with it. Yeah,
it still lived up to that whole RADnesia feel. Like I didn't have any moment where I was just like, and it made me nostalgic for more movies to look like that again, to go back to the old filming, right? Like that old classic. But just even that movie, like I wish there was more Indiana Jones movies. Yeah. Like I read a lot of the books, but I really do with rewatching Raiders. I'm sad that there's only 4. Yeah. There's only 3.
There's only 3, yeah. And there's this other weird thing that you're going to make me watch again.
I'm curious to see if that'll change.
I know, right?
Because
I am excited to watch it again. Because things are different. Yeah. So we'll see.
But Raiders of the Lost Ark, it's a great movie. It's got to be up there for a lot of you. And like, especially when it comes to, that nostalgia factor. And if you haven't seen it, you gotta suss it out, because another fun fact was
what rock have you been hiding under?
It actually was never actually called Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark. That was just put on for DVD. It was always just Raiders.
And the credits, the opening, it just says Raiders of the Lost Ark. So because it became a franchise, right? So
yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah. So next week, join us for Temple of Doom. We'll rewatch that one.
I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, me too.
See, years ago, you had watched it with Kiddo, this Raiders.
I'm going to spoil the story now.
No, I'm not going to say anything more. And you guys had watched it when I was on a business trip. And so I never got to experience his, enjoyment of this film. So
I'll just say this. We never watched another one after that. So
I'm excited.
So this will be a fun trip to see if we can make it past that one with Kiddo.
Yep.
But yeah, so Raiders of the Lost Ark, I highly recommend it.
There we go.
Definitely find it. I think right now it's on Netflix up in Canada here. So, because there's a fun fact for you. Disney can make more Indiana Jones movies, which they are. James Mangold has been set to direct.
Which is very cool.
And with Harrison Ford still coming back as Indiana Jones. So we all know...
We don't understand that at all.
Indy's going to die. He's going to swear a lot.
Oh, he's going to swear a lot, and he's going to die, and he's going to look all decrepit.
He's going to be strung out.
Yep. What kind of painkillers is going to be on because he's all like PTSD out.
Yeah. It's going to be
looking for the Nazis.
You know what it's going to be? It's going to be Bubba Hotep, that old Bruce Campbell movie where Elvis fights the mummy.
Yeah.
But it's going to be...
now I gotta want to see this happen.
But so Mangold's doing it. But the weird thing is Paramount still owns all the rights to the prior ones. So those ones, unless Disney can find a way to outright buy them, it'll never be on Plus. So it's wherever Paramount's putting it. So whatever deal Paramount has.
Okay, so because they don't have the old ones, they just have new. Okay.
Yeah, which is weird.
That is super weird. They don't have
loopholes
for that. Strange.
But join us next week for our next section of Indiana Jones.
Indiana June, yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to roll into our next segment here. And Theo from Insane Dragon Ball sent us a little bit of music to play us over.
Nice.
So as we said earlier, I was pretty much couch bound, and I wanted to watch a lot of things this weekend. The library opened, and we got some free stuff too.
Yeah, it was the fastest we have watched movies that we rented. So,
what is something that we had forgotten to watch since it came out?
Well, Disney Plus, of course, then had Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, we hadn't watched that again since.
No, and we were like, oh, we gotta watch it. Oh, we gotta watch it. Oh, we gotta watch it. Okay, we're gonna watch it.
And what's funny was because I liked the movie when it came out. We saw it in theaters, and it just never hit the time because it's a longer one too, right? So we watched Rise of Skywalker again. It's our second viewing of that. So what are your thoughts on that?
I really do like it. I was happy with it to begin with, and I'm still overall happy with it. It's impressive how fast it moves. I think I was even more surprised this time watching it because it is a long movie, but how much actually does happen. And to me, it didn't feel like, oh God, we're still going on here or dragging or anything. Opposed to the last movie did feel kind of dragged on, and this one just, so much did happen. Yeah. So. I really enjoyed that, and all the emotional parts of it still hit me.
Yeah.
So, cried at all the same spots, doing good. Got all, tingly and excited for certain other things. So, goosebumpy wise. So,
yeah, watching again, I still had a really good time. It's a fast, fun movie. It's a big popcorn Hollywood blockbuster. And it hit some good moments. I still have my same kind of issues that it felt like it could have been 2 or 3 movies.
Yeah, and I think that was the fall blowback from the second one being so drawn out, right? Yeah,
and where the second one is still like the Last Jedi there was still good, it felt like a 0.1.
Yeah.
Right? Like there needed to be more, and they were dealt the task of having to wrap things up so quickly.
Yeah. I think they did a decent job for what they were given for their time constraints for that. But yeah, there's a lot that happened. A lot of timelines had to be, or storylines had to be pushed together, right?
Giving everyone the equal screen time to be able to figure out how to...
Right, and to really care about them, right?
Yeah.
So
I think it has some of the best shots in the new trilogy, especially that opening scene with Kylo where he's taking down the slow-mo and
that scene is spectacular.
That's a great looking scene, and that was still something I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
So
Kiddo really liked seeing the Death Star wreckage this time. He like really gravitated to think he thought that was really, really cool. And I don't know if it was because it was just so epic. Just this, because to think about something of that size falling down and being destroyed into bits like that, like just how huge that would be. And it was pretty disturbing actually when she was going through it, finding all the stormtrooper, armor and everything like that. And just the sheer amount of people that would have died when that did blow up was just like, oh wow, there's a little bit of like reality and war right there for you. So, so that was pretty intense.
Yeah, that was, I was happy I got to see Ewoks again. So.
I know, you were just like, oh yeah, there's Ewoks.
There's Ewoks.
Everything's awesome.
Yeah. We had pre-ordered the Tebow, and I'm excited to get that. And I was looking
the Star Wars Black series.
Yeah, and I was thinking about it, and I looked up Kenner's old list, and they made 17 Ewoks. I think I had like 5 of them, maybe.
It's crazy.
And I am so hoping that they make the 17 Ewoks from the Kenner line into the 6-inch black. Well, they're not 6-inch; they're like 3-inch, but because that would be really freaking amazing.
Yeah.
I figure if they make that many troopers from every movie,
that you deserve to have that many Ewoks.
Yes.
His face was priceless.
I mean, like, come on. And then that way I can start making my diorama of the village. Now, if Hasbro Pulse brought out one of those Kickstarters to make like a reproduction in the 12 scale,
you'd be all over it.
It's $300 item.
Of course I would.
I don't want that. Anyways, but yeah.
That was my highlight of it. The Ewoks were back for a split second, a minute moment.
That, as I said before, that was like pure fan service because it made no sense of why they showed it.
Okay, so I absolutely loved the end scene against Palpatine with her finding her strength in the battle and then with showing that connection between now Ben and Rey and but I just loved it so much. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the idea that, it's totally creepy that Palpatine then has all the Sith in him and you see how powerful he is then. And then to see then with her being able to channel all of the Jedi and all that strength that would be there. And just then that is the balancing of the Force with it.
That's one thing, like, because a lot of people said they wish they'd seen the Force Ghost or something. But, even if they had shown maybe a little bit like wispy mist or something going into her, like giving her that power, even just something. Because like I had mentioned before too, though, I wish there had been something when she force heals that snake.
Yes.
And when she heals Ben, right? I wish there had been something more like recognizable.
Well, like something visual to see that life force is drained from her a bit.
Yeah.
Like you had mentioned, like the idea of a white streak of hair. Something like that shows that it was a stress on her body, right? Because, you make a good point that it would have made no more sense when you see that Ben healing her, he's so close to death as it is.
Yeah.
Healing her makes sense why it would have cost
she was dead, basically.
I mean, she was totally out cold. So, so to see the cost of it, like we can rationalize and be like, oh, of course. I mean, that's how it works if you're going to give life force away. Yeah. But to actually just have she just shakes her hand.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to understand that.
I would love to be able to do that when I get hurt, just shake it off.
Right. Like, I'm good. Right. But yeah, I love all of that, the connection and the bigger story. And it made me all goosebumpy and excited.
No, it's great. Like it's one of those ones too where the way it ends, though, you're like, but she just got her saber, her own saber. Like, why? What? I want more.
I'm surprised, honestly, for myself, that I am okay with the path of Kylo Ren, because normally I don't like the bad guys turning into good guys, right? But it was because Palpatine was always still actually the bad guy.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably why I was okay with, but I'm weirdly okay with him being Ben.
But I think the reason why, though, is that he never really had redemption. He never redeemed himself. He never tried to go back. He never redeemed himself enough that anyone else would have seen it, and then he didn't show back up at the party, be like, "Hey guys, I saved Rey."
I know, and because I remember when they first started, I was like, he can't go back to the world. No one is ever going to.
Because if he did, I would have loved to just popped him off in the head.
Yeah, because honestly,
shoot first.
Because you're right.
Or Chewbacca just blows him away.
Chewbacca would have been, out of everyone, deserves to kill him.
We finally get to see Chewbacca rip his arms.
Yeah. You made Luke leave.
It's just a flash wound.
You killed Leia with the stress of trying to save her son. You shot my best friend. Fuck you, Kylo. Like,
Wookiee rage.
Yes, Wookiee rage. Oh, see, that would have been the only other acceptable ending. But yes, because if he had gone back and tried to been like, "Hey guys, I was wrong," it would have been destroyed.
Yeah, and I think that's why.
And that's why I'm okay with it then.
Right?
Okay,
he had to die because
that was his redemption, was sacrificing himself, because that is not something any sort of Sith would do.
He paid a price for his redemption.
Exactly.
It wasn't just
it was like, "Hey guys, everything's good now.
Yeah,
Whoops,
right?
my bad. I didn't mean to kill those thousands of people.
Whoops, my bad. I was a Sith." I don't know,
But yes, the only acceptable option would have been Chewie ripping his arms off.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. I got so excited and like emotional, and then it turned into this.
Well, yeah, but no, because you got to think about it, right? Because like there isn't a way. Like he would always be seen as a bad guy, and I don't think anyone could really, suddenly be like, oh, you flip sides so easily. Oh yeah, okay, you saved Rey, woo! But
but yeah, no,
you're basically the reason why this happened.
Yeah.
Right.
You are the cause of it all. I love how she actually ends up killing Palpatine. She finds she's able to not actually you had said she actually finally turned into what the Jedi are supposed to do.
What they stood
defense and peacekeeping, not offense, not a soldier. She literally just deflected his power back on himself, and he killed himself.
Yeah.
She just said no, and she didn't strike him down or anything like that, and I thought that was just beautiful.
And I'm gonna put this back. The realization with that showed that Mace Windu was the only Jedi to then do that within the Clone Wars. He was redirecting the Force lightning back and melting Palpatine until Anakin cut his arm off and threw him out a window.
Because Mace is the man.
He is.
Yeah.
He was doing it right. He was, Yeah. He would have been the
person who straddles that line between good and bad, and he was the one that understood it the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
Than the idea of fighting for what is right and not just standing for what you're supposed to be doing or something.
Right.
It's
So I thought that was interesting to see, because like you don't see the deflection from anyone else in the entire series.
Yeah.
And I don't know about like in the expanded with the cartoons and stuff like that, but like in the actual like that is he does it and Rey does it.
Yeah.
Right. And then that's a power to it then to show that,
to be able to,
because when Luke gets hit by lightning, he just crumbles.
Yeah.
Right. So,
and then Rey shot lightning from herself, though.
Yeah, well, she's a Palpatine, so it's like in her DNA.
Yeah, she's just a lightning. I got that. Bring it on. But yeah, I love that she actually did that. I mean, there's so much power in that and so much meaning, I think. Yeah. And I love the concept of what the symbol of it, the symbolistic aspect of it, right? And the idea that standing back up for defense and for what she believed in and not going and attacking things, I think was
because she realized in that moment that she would be falling right into his hand.
Yeah, it's that idea that violence,
begging to be killed.
If you continue that cycle of violence, it will never stop.
Yeah,
if you keep striking people down and keep just killing your problems, they're not going to actually get better. You need to feed them a positivity and snuff them out with their own hatred.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, right? You don't give in to the hatred and become one of them. You don't become the bad thing. You just, let it self-destroy it by not giving it what it wants.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's a good lesson for everyone. There's a lot of amazing commentary and social for everyday life, for small issues in Star Wars. And I think it was just, it brought a whole nother meaning to it watching it right now.
Yeah.
So there we go. Deep thoughts with Cup of Rad.
Right. And, it's going to be a while till we talk about Star Wars again, because we're talking about Star Wars. But luckily, The Mandalorian is on track.
Yes.
To show up.
That'll be awesome.
Favreau had said that they've been working on it from home, so it probably will not miss a beat, and it will be on time for season 2.
That's awesome.
And other rumors I saw was that they're looking at for like 5 seasons of it.
Wow.
So
let's just hope, I don't care. Take it one step at a time.
One season at a time.
And just give it all you got and just act as if you have to keep trying every single season, because you're going to get too damn lazy and be like, we got this, and it's going to suck. So keep your foot on the gas and keep trying as if, you will get cut
every day is your last.
Yes. So what's next, Mike?
I don't know. What is it? What is the next thing that
What is the next real wheel of magical movies? The next one is Ford versus Ferrari.
Ford versus Ferrari.
I finally got to watch it.
Now, the only reason why we didn't go see it was because it was like over 2.5 hours, and
it was really hard.
It only was in our theater for like a week.
Yeah, it's really hard to go without kiddo, right? So, but it's
granted, we probably could have taken this one because it was PG.
Yeah.
There was no swearing. There was no sex.
It's race cars. I had to see it.
Yeah.
I mean,
living that fast and furious life.
I was waiting for that. But it's just
baby.
Will you just stop? Moral
American muscle. It's where it's at.
Are you done? You're ruining the vibe of the awesomeness and putting it in Fast and Furious, and that is so not right. This is a Cobra. It is classy. Ferraris. And then there's Ford stuff.
So Ford versus Ferrari. So who's in it? Who's in it?
Like the actors or the story? The actors is Matt Damon plays Carroll Shelby, and I can't remember his name suddenly. Christian Bale. I just want to call him Batman.
Ken Miles
plays Ken Miles, who was apparently, we learned from this, a famous race car driver.
Yeah. It's directed by James Mangold, which we talked about earlier.
Right, look at that.
And surprisingly, no one was strung out.
And
no one... Oh, no. Never mind.
And I was going to say, what was great about this though was that I didn't know the history behind it.
Yeah.
So it was super suspenseful because I purposely don't touch Google. Don't look up who Ken Miles was.
Yeah.
Because then you'll find out his history and the movie will be ruined.
Yeah.
Or the history behind Cobra and Ford and all this sort of stuff. I'm like, just don't do it. Let the movie tell. And it was really hard for me to not look it up and find.
Well, it's so easy for us. We just reach over.
Right. We're just like, oh yeah, I didn't know about this. I get to look it up. Oh, so that was really interesting to see the history of the racing and the love that they portrayed for the sport, for the knowledge of the vehicles. And I mean, it's unbelievable to see how someone can live and breathe a piece of machinery like that as if it is an extension of them. And it truly is impressive. Those people, nothing to knock race car drivers now. I think if you drive NASCAR or you drive any of these races, I still know that it's very difficult on your body, and it is very dangerous. And the people and the team that you make and everything, it's just gotten so flashy with so much ads that I think it loses some of that grit that it would have had.
Yeah.
But it's still super impressive to me. And the idea of moving at speeds that we can't.
Final race is 24 hours with 2 drivers?
Yeah, there was a couple different. I don't remember how many there was. I think there was 2 drivers.
2 drivers and everything, taking shifts, 4-hour shifts.
Right, and I mean, and the concept of if that time frame, having to be able to deal with night and day driving, that alone, on a normal day basis, we can't figure out night and day driving, just driving around the city, right? Oh, is it night? I can't drive type thing. And now you're going to be driving at 200 miles an hour and you have to figure it out, right? And then the weather, of course, and you add into that. And that race showed them driving in the dark in the pouring rain. It was literally the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And you're also flying.
Yeah.
And
because you can't slow down.
Yeah, you can't
lose a lap.
Right? It's just ridiculous, the stakes that are there. I mean, it literally every second counts.
Yeah.
And it's just so intense. So, and it was, to me, I think it was really well acted.
It was a fantastic movie.
They did an amazing job. And Christian Bale, I think this is one of my favorites I've ever enjoyed him as.
Yeah, honestly,
because he wasn't angry and the world doom and gloom. He was so positive and he was
so frank.
He deserved to be more angry with the world. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't. He was just it is what it is, and we're going to keep moving forward, and I'm going to just kind of keep doing what I'm doing and
doing what I love.
And it was inspiring to see that. And it did not give Ford a good name.
Yeah, I was really surprised because, not so, I guess it has never heard any backlash on it, right? Like, but it's historical.
Yeah, and I think that's part of it, right? But and I don't know if it was maybe...
Well, because it necessarily wasn't Ford.
It's the idea of a corporation, right?
The executive that decided that, image is everything.
Yeah, that douchebag. I wanted to just, punch him in the face.
Her blood pressure was going down through the roof.
It was just like, I hate him so much!
And it showed how, marketing can be so conniving.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, because Ford himself, Jr., was actually not a bad guy.
No.
He was you can tell that the enemy was really...
It was like the king with this slimy guy that was, silver tongue in his ear.
Yes, right? Where he wanted to do right. He just wasn't quite sure exactly.
His advisors were wrong.
His advisors, it's like Jafar, right? And it's always watch out for that. It's always the person who wants the top spot that will stab you in the back.
Yeah.
And
overambitious.
Yeah, and I think Ford himself knew that he didn't know everything, and especially when he did get that experience in the car with Shelby. Himself. Holy crap! It was beautiful to see him say, I had no idea what it's like.
Yeah.
And it was that moment where you have the big boss have no idea what these people are going for in order to excel his name, right? And to put Ford up there and give him, a status of some sort. Mm-hmm. And this is what we're experiencing. And this was a moment of it.
Yeah.
And that was just a beautiful thing to see. And the executive never got that, right? No. And so it showed, and I love the inefficiencies and the ridiculous redundancies that it showed within a big factory. But it also didn't give good light for Ferrari, saying how, you care so much about particular quality to an extent where you don't maybe change up your thinking. Mm-hmm. You also will run yourself in the ground. Yeah. There's extremes there, and there has to be a happy medium somewhere, right? Because
they were just spending money left, right, and center, and then they had no money, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so much on image, and this is the way something has to be. Mm-hmm. It's a tradition in its own right, in a detrimental way too. Yeah. And I was really impressed with it, and I really liked. I mean, it was horribly suspenseful and sad and positive all at the same time. There's just a lot of emotions going on.
It is a great movie. I know
it deserved the accolades that it got.
Yeah, and Theo had said was surprised we hadn't seen it yet.
Yeah,
and it was a great racing movie.
Yeah.
It was well acted, well directed. Mangold shows that he's not just a spit in the bucket.
He's a good
director.
Yeah.
But pretty much everything he's done has been pretty solid. And seeing that this one here is more of his thing, not as much meddling from, say, like being in a franchise film, shows how well he can craft a story.
Yeah.
Right. So, but yeah, Christian Bale did a great job as Miles, and his acting in that was just beautiful.
Yeah.
Because you saw the joy and everything from it. So I highly recommend that one. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out.
Definitely.
Because it was really good.
Yeah. Next up.
So we decided to rent Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yay!
Because we wanted to, have a family movie too that was newer.
Well, and we wanted to see if it was going to live up to the hype and the buzz. Yeah.
Because here it was, the most highest rated from critical praise video game movie, highest grossing video game movie.
Yeah.
Even after all the turmoil of changing all the effects from fan backlash to look more cartoony. Mm-hmm. And then, recently I'd heard that there's going to be a sequel, and the sequel is going to be helmed by the same team because Paramount trusts the team. And that's wild to hear from a studio
thing,
right? These days where everything seems to be
so finally I was like, okay, we're going to just get this on demand. It's just going to happen.
So Sonic the Hedgehog basically tells the story of Sonic the Hedgehog. He comes to Earth because he's got a special ability that others want. And I thought it was really cool to see that the others were the Knuckles species.
Yeah.
Which was really cool. They're all shrouded in mystery and they look like ninjas, but you can clearly see the Knuckles.
Yeah.
And so he's been on Earth forever and he's been like creeping on people.
Yeah, he's made this like small town his home, right?
And then he lets out his energy out of emotion and all that and causes the government to come after him.
Well, a giant EMP gets their attention, of course.
Right.
You know?
So it's basically the hijinks that comes from that.
So his favorite person in town is the Donut Lord.
The Donut Lord. Donut Lord!
I love that he gave them names like that.
Yeah.
Like, because it makes sense. He and especially because the sheriff is constantly talking to his donuts, apparently.
Why do you keep calling him Donut Lord? Because you speak to donuts, and if they don't listen to you, you eat them.
Like, it's hilarious. He's so frank because he's like a little kid that doesn't understand the situation and just reads it how it is, right? And it's great.
So going into it, like, I like the look that they changed it to because I was like, it looks classic. Mm-hmm. But the whole idea of CG character, fuzzy CG character, melding with humans in a world that they never really were with the video games, in cartoons and comics and all that, like, not part of it, gave me my reservations because I was like, it's going to be like another Alvin and the Chipmunks or, you know. I will admit, though, I did kind of like Yogi Bear. I don't know why.
That is weird.
That one was weird. It had some really awkward, like, sexual humor.
Yeah, that's why.
So, but, like, those ones, like, they always seem to fail, right?
Yeah.
And so I was scared. I was actually scared. And Jim Carrey has been hit and miss, right?
Yeah.
And
honestly, I don't really trust him right now, but...
I loved it.
Right? I was super impressed. Like, I can't believe how
I was laughing.
happy I was with it. I was like, wow, this actually is a really good movie.
Like, they pulled it together.
Yeah.
They made things make sense, and they pulled this weird little science
Sonic
fiction.
was hilarious.
Yeah, Ben Schwartz did a good job.
Yeah,
in his
and
voice.
Jim Carrey,
it was full on 1990s Jim Carrey.
Right? Like, I was so blown away on how awesome it was. Because what was great, it's like, okay, so for my own self, I don't know much about the story of Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog. I just know who he was, and he runs fast, and I didn't
There's not much to...
No,
okay, I didn't really ever get into the cartoons or the comics or that.
But, like, I don't... so I have nothing to compare it to, right? But at the same time, though, you have this extreme villain that doesn't fit in our real world. Like, how is that going to happen? He looks ridiculous, right? And they did such a good job transitioning him and making him seem like
they gave him development,
right? Like a legitimate character that you totally understand how
and
he
you
goes
hate
from point A to point B, and he's a douchebag from the very beginning,
right?
Like, wow, you are horrible.
And I love that because so many movies,
he wasn't wishy-washy.
Yeah, where you're like, oh, I kind of like him.
You're like, no, wow, I hate him.
Even his backstory, even when it should make you feel like you should start feeling good for him. Then the stuff that he did to his bullies to get to where he was, you're like, oh my god, you're worse than the bully, right? Like
there was nothing good about that.
Pure bad. It was like he took like his like Jim Carrey mask Riddler role, and put it all together, and like it was funny.
Yeah. Like I was so happy with that. Because it's like, wow, you actually have a clear bad guy and you want nothing more than him to lose.
A kid's movie had a better bad guy than a lot of superhero movies.
Yes.
Because there was no gray area with him.
Yes.
Like even the government was like, really?
You really want to bring this guy in?
He's not the...
Well, and the fact that they were just like, at the end of it.
And he didn't even hide it. No. He literally had like Evil Layer music on his... iPod.
I know. Like he knew he was the bad guy. Because he just thought himself a better.
He was the best. He thought he was he was the best, the smartest. The ego took over, and he believed robots were better than people.
Yeah.
And
oh my god, I love the scene where the robot just keeps getting smaller.
Yeah.
It was so ridiculous, but so awesome.
But it fit, though.
It fit like a silly, ridiculous supervillain thing.
Yeah.
Where you have this big honking thing and it just keeps breaking and more little tiny robots.
But that's scary. Like, it's actually terrifying to think that it just kept transforming and like continued to, and then it cut like the top off the truck. Like
was the weirdest thing to see.
The little bee did more damage than the tank did.
Right?
Right? Like, that's what's terrifying.
Yeah.
It kept going.
Don't ever underestimate the little tiny robots.
Right? Like, that was pretty intense.
Yeah.
But, it was a fun, like,
I actually really enjoyed it. Like, I would watch it again, no problem.
It was surprisingly good.
Yeah.
And, like, the end credit, like, left you with the, like, yeah, I could handle some more.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
totally.
So...
And Kiddo loved it. He thought it was great. He's
on a kick of speedsters, right?
Yes. He loves... Yeah, Quicksilver was his, like, favorite thing.
Of the X-Men movies. And they did a whole scene like that
so awesome.
in this movie. And they kidified it, right? With the silliness.
Yeah. But it was just as awesome. So he, of course, that sold him right there.
Yeah. He was just ready. He was just like, yeah, this is fantastic and amazing. And yeah, it was, it's weird because there wasn't really any questionable humor in it either. No. There was, like, I think one fart joke.
Yeah, I didn't feel like my intelligence level was dropping while I was watching it at all.
It was really I was really surprised, actually, like, because it was the CG furry character and the human counterpart. Usually just, it's a tank.
Like, normally it's like, it's awkward and it's corny. And
what's even surprising is that they redid all of the sonic effects without redoing any of the movie.
Yeah,
and
that's really impressive.
Able to blend it pretty good, and he looked fantastic.
Yeah.
So hopefully they can strike lightning twice with the next one. Like, they don't have too much interference, that they can craft that story.
Yeah, they don't get too bloated. I think that'll be the biggest thing.
Because they show Tails shows up at the end. Yeah. So more characters can always scream problems, but... Yeah. But... No, I laughed. Like, I didn't even care to want to look at my phone, or I didn't feel bored.
Well, yeah, that alone is impressive, that you were engaged the whole time.
Yeah,
for sure.
And it was really cool to see Jim Carrey kind of just being zany again. Yeah. And funny zany.
Yeah, he wasn't, like, obnoxiously, like, restrained.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I really... So if you haven't watched it, please go watch it.
It's super hilarious. Fun. Like, especially if you got kids. Like, it's a good family movie, right? Speaking of Jim Carrey, he's being rumored for a Marvel role, possibly MODOK. I don't know if it'll go anywhere, but he's being circled for that. So more of just the voice aspect, because giant head, right? Yeah, right. But yeah, Sonic, definitely a fun movie when you got family, and I'm pleasantly surprised. There you go. Okay, so we got another one that we missed in theaters. We got 1917. Yes. We watched that one. That's a war movie that takes place in 1917.
Yeah, imagine that.
This is directed by Sam Mendes. This is done as a constant single shot. That was one of my selling features, that I wanted to see how they were going to pull that off. Mm-hmm. So the idea is that they're two guys, British dudes are having to go stop an attack because they find out that it is...
they don't have good enough information, and the one unit is going to be attacking because they think that the Germans have retreated and they have them on the run, but it's a strategic move by the Germans, and they will be ambushed. And they believe that if they proceeded with the attack, they'd lose 2 full battalions. Yeah. And so it was, of course, paramount to them to try to stop it, but... in order to get to them, they have to cross no man's land. Yeah. And so it's
enemy territory.
You have to walk. You have to leave right now. You have no time to waste and get going. Well, and one of the soldiers, his older brother, is in that battalion that is going to be attacking. So he is going to go, right. So it starts off, and from the very beginning of the movie, it's following them. They're moving. Cameras following them. I
love that look.
It's so beautiful.
Like, it was just fantastic to see. It was a little jarring at first because it was a little dizzy.
You're like, wow, it's actually like moving. Oh my gosh.
Because the camera was constantly moving, and like it was either in front of them or behind them, and it was just that constant movement. But as it went on, it was just fantastic to see. Like, it made you feel like you were in the moment. Yeah. You were a fly.
Yeah, you could feel them rushing through things. You could feel them, their journey. It wasn't just, a stand-up observer or something. Just watching them move through the scene. You were moving with them through that scene. And it gave a totally unique perspective to what it was.
Yeah, and it was just... fantastically shot, like and brilliantly edited, and
because you never could tell. I mean, the moments where they swapped between things, if maybe they needed a break between the scene, was the camera kept moving somewhere else and it would catch up to them.
Yeah,
and so you never.
They had the couple where he got knocked out, and when he went in the water, that was the only time. It was
and those
clear,
made sense
right?
then, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it was. I was thoroughly impressed with it, how well it was done, and how it just kept moving.
Yeah.
So, and then not to mention the fact that there was many times where I was, especially when they were first going out across the just complete barren wasteland of the battlefield,
all the bodies,
and squeamish and horrific and right in your face. It didn't shy away from the horrific nature of war.
Yeah, but it didn't go over the top grotesque.
No,
right?
It wasn't grotesque, but it was just enough to what I assume, of course, would make sense.
Yeah.
It wasn't strewn body parts bloody everywhere, but it was, bodies buried in mud pits because these giant craters, because then you go and find the shell casings of these missile type things, and what actually was being shot at them. It's like, oh, no wonder there's a giant crater in the ground, because look at the shell casing on this thing.
Well, they're all skittish because they're not sure if the Germans are over there, so they're trying to make it through this section. And one guy's cut his hand on barbed wire like 2 seconds into leaving, and lands in a pit and sticks his hand in a body. As a rat's crawling out of it.
Yeah, it was just... It was like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. This is...
all the vermin, too.
Yeah, there's so much of it. I mean, it would have been just a perfect ground for them, right? And so it gave you the horrific, creepy, like, suspenseful feeling because you were right there with them. And I think it did a great job of giving that sense of what they might be going through. Right?
After watching that, I'm really surprised that Mendes didn't win the director Oscar, because I think how well it was put together... just for that constant nature where it was just that constant moving, right? Like it was just, I was mesmerized. I'm watching this thing as it goes along, and like in my mind, I'm like, I never liked the idea of like emulating a style or copying a style, but I was like, they need to do this more often. Yeah. This needs to happen in other types of films. Like I want to see a stormtrooper, or not like a clone trooper movie like this, right? Like
that would be awesome,
right?
To see them going through all the different worlds or stuff like that, and
in a single shot like that
down.
Like that would just be like, I want to see this style of filmmaking done in another world, because I think that idea, it just gave such the intense closeness to the characters, and you just wanted him to succeed. But there was those times where you're like, shit, he's not gonna, is he gonna, what?
I honestly didn't know if it was going to have a quote unquote happy ending. Was he gonna have mission success? And like, I was like, you don't know, okay, even if he does succeed, is he gonna just pass out and keel over at the end of it? Like, what is gonna happen, right? And
because he's walking, it's running, and things are blowing up, getting shot at, getting shot, getting stabbed, getting like, just like
the scene too, the sets that were required for this thing. He's running through this completely barren town at night, being bombed, and the flares, and
that was such a cool scene. Like the light, and then it would go dark,
right? And
then light and dark.
I thought that was just really impressive to see all that. So, but I was thoroughly blown away. I think it was a gorgeous film. Yeah,
I really think that if you are into war movies, you should definitely check out 1917, because it is a marvel of filmmaking. Like it was a good movie, and there's a lot in there that is worth seeing. Like, totally worth it. Like I was just like, this is friggin' rad. Like, so Moriarty is in it, the actor. What's his name? Adam, what do you put?
Did we write it down?
Yeah, you wrote it down.
Andrew Scott.
And he's in it.
Because he's a forever, we don't know his name. It's just like, oh, it's Moriarty.
Right? And he always plays that strung out dude that's just like, the captain. And he added such a amount of like humor to the very beginning of the movie. And there's like
really, I love him.
There's no humor in the rest of the movie.
No.
But I love it when he gives
he's just deadpan humor, because he's just fuck this.
Yeah.
Right?
And I love when he's like, he's like, do you got a flare gun? They're like, no. He's like, he gives him a flare gun. And then he's like, in your mind, once you fire it off, throw it back because we don't have many of these. And he just delivers it so good. And he's such a good actor. But because he's got like his accent and the way he speaks, I don't think he gets really considered for a lot of roles.
I wish he would be in more things. I love him.
Because he's such a good actor. Yeah. Right? And all I could think about while I was watching it was like, he needs to be like a new Constantine or something. I could totally see him playing Constantine because one, he thinks the way he acts every character, he's always strung out, but he always thinks he's the shit. Yeah. Right. And I think that would go good
his
with
ego
that.
Just exudes from him. Yeah.
Right. Like you could easily see him playing if they like decided to do a new Tony Stark almost. He has that kind of cockiness to him. But the fact I go to Constantine because being English and whatnot.
And strung out.
Yeah, right. I think he'd be a different,
awesome
different. You know, if they were gonna go with a live action movie universe change up, right? Yeah, I think he would do a good job of that. But then it was awesome because then Benedict Cumberbatch is in it,
and Sherlock showed up.
Right at he's in there. So I was really sad that Martin Freeman didn't have a cameo because that would have just been. I would have been.
He should have been the second in command to come by. Like it would have been great.
It would have just
that, or I would have also accepted that he was a doctor.
I would have also accepted if he was a doctor.
Because if he had been a doctor, that would have been fabulous too.
Right.
So yeah.
Because those two were in it. So
by default, really sad. You missed opportunity.
So that knocked off like a few points for the movie.
The lack of Martin Freeman.
Yeah. Because you had 2 out of 3 for the Sherlock. Yeah.
Because, and by the way, on a side note, if you have not experienced the BBC Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch, your world is a little less valuable. It is so amazing. Please go watch it. You're missing out. The world is just not complete without watching the Sherlock Holmes series.
Yeah, that series is top
I love
notch.
It so much.
They're still trying to make like a third Robert Downey Jr. one.
Make it stop. Just make it stop.
The first one's good. It's going to be a new director though.
I don't care. I want
but that could be. I know, but that could.
Robert Downey Jr. is not Sherlock Holmes.
I'm just saying that new director could bring something else to it.
I'm being very mature right now.
No, yeah, you are completely. But anyways, would you recommend 1917?
Oh yes.
So
definitely.
Okay, there you go.
I think there's just you should see it for a cinematography aspect for a movie, and also just that slice of history. I think it's
a great way of. Because it doesn't glorify war. It's not like rah patriotism war movie. It's more of like,
it's just like, wow, this
is what
was
it
awful.
Could be like.
This was awful.
And in 1917.
Yeah, there you go. So go watch the movie. It's great.
So we're gonna completely switch gears.
I was gonna say, now that we talked about war, now we're gonna talk about the magical world of Disney.
That's all I say. We're switching gears.
Yeah.
So we're switching gears because we've decided we wanted to rewatch the animated Disney movies.
Yeah. We're gonna start from the very beginning.
Yeah, and we're going more of a chronological order. We did skip over a few because we had recently watched them.
They skipped over Fantasia on me.
I asked if you wanted to watch that.
I did okay it.
And then you were like...
Because it's not, to me, I've never thought of it as a theatrical movie like the rest of them, so I get it.
Well, maybe it'll happen at some point, but it is a longer one because it's like 2 hours and something.
Yeah, it's totally
So
it's one of my absolute favorites.
Okay, then we're going to have to do it then.
But no, wait.
Don't sideline it.
Oh, no.
It's just going to happen. We're just going to have to fit it in at some point. But anyways, let's not bitch and whine about what Disney movies we didn't watch.
Please proceed.
But
we have officially recorded too long. We're starting to nitpick at each other.
So anyways.
We went and watched
first few.
Yes.
So we watched Snow White.
Yes.
The first animated Disney full-length movie.
It had been a really long time since I'd seen Snow White. I honestly, I can't remember the last time I would have seen it.
No, when I think Snow White, I think Disneyland.
Yeah, that's all. I'm like, oh, right? Yeah, the ride.
That's where...
That's where I remember. I was like, last time we went on the ride, I was like, shit, I don't remember this movie very well.
Yeah, right? So, and one other fact, I remember us saying we should watch Snow White. Last time we've been to Disneyland was in 2017. Yeah. So,
well, we finally listened. Kiddo's like, I want to watch the old animated. Okay.
Yeah. So because some of them are nice and short though, right?
Yeah.
So we can like bang them out pretty easily. So yeah, we watched Snow White.
Yeah.
So Snow White is the tale of Snow White.
That's fabulous.
I'm pretty sure you know the tale.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So lady runs off into the woods because she almost got her heart chopped off.
Yeah,
by the woodsman.
Good reason.
She goes off and finds a cabin and says, "Yo, this cabin's dirty, bitch. I need to clean this shit up." She sweeps it up.
She gets the animals to help her.
Yeah, the little men show up. They're like, "Damn, there's food, there's water. What's happening? Oh, there's a lady in her bed.
Okay,
sure, why not?"
Except for one of them. One of them thinks that there's something tricky going on. But Grumpy is hilarious. Like, he is definitely an angry old man, but he's also probably the smartest out of all of them.
Oh, yeah.
For at least questioning the scenario. Hello, over here. Strange lady just showed up.
Right.
I think it's funny that they live in the middle of nowhere, yet they still seem very aware of current events of the kingdom. They knew about the queen. They knew who the princess was. Like, they're still very much, involved in the kingdom.
Well, there's 7 of them. One of them is bound to have social media.
That makes sense. It's definitely Dopey, right?
Right? Yeah. He's out there taking selfies. He's got that going out there, and he's all like, "Hey, look, I'm in the forest."
Things got weird. Okay.
Dopey face.
So,
camera phone.
I haven't said that for so
long. But yeah, well, there's got to have they had a mailbox.
Yeah. So the Wicked. What is
not the Wicked?
She's not the Wicked. Oh my! I didn't say that. She's the evil queen. Thank you very much. Becomes the wicked old hag thing. That's what I was going for. That was a really awesome, terrifying scene of her changing things over. Though, like to think of when that actually was. It was really
like
intense.
Or something.
All the dead bodies in the dungeon and how
the ones like skeletons reaching for food,
and she just like kicks things and everything. Is like, wow, she is definitely deserves her title.
Oh yeah,
and
you see that too. You're like, man, Disney movies are soft now.
Yes, where was that? Where it made you like, oh wow, like
evil.
She was evil. It was
evil.
It was
now the bad guys are all gray aread.
Yes,
right. And you were like, no. She wants to be the prettiest.
So as soon as she finds out she's not the prettiest, she's cutting people's hearts. She's sending other people to murder
her
stepdaughter. Cut out its heart, bring it back to you. And as soon as she finds, there's no missing a beat. As soon as she finds out Snow White's still alive,
I'll do it myself.
I got this thing to poison her. I'm going to change and transform myself. And like, damn, she means business. Like, holy moly. So, of course, Snow White, being as naive as she is, wants to try to help the old lady, and everything's great and wonderful.
So what we learn, kids? Don't eat food from strangers.
So yeah, that's a
especially when they're like really persistent about it.
Like if they're really pushing, like, no, you really need to eat this. No, I don't.
Yeah. It's not like, hey, you want an apple? Oh, sure, I'll have that cracker. No, it's like, no, I'm good. And she's like, no, eat the apple.
Eat the apple,
eat the apple, right? It's juicy, it's crisp. Eat the apple,
right?
You want to get a man? Eat the apple. Like, what?
So yeah, then of course, obviously she eats the poison apple, and she gets put. And then things got weird after that.
Like the movie, the animation's pretty solid for being how old it is.
How old it is, it's impressive.
Like, you look at it and you're like, it's really clean still. Like it's really, really nice. Like I can see why it got its accolades because it's.
And especially the whole silly song scene is really impressive. How much is going on there, and that's really fun.
Oh yeah, I really like the fact when she goes into the forest first. How much it's like a trip scene.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you find out that it's just her imagination
the forest
made all that.
Look like
yeah. Right? Like I think that's really cool.
Because as soon as she wakes up, it's like everything, she's in the exact same forest and everything's bright and shiny and pretty. And you're like, oh, this forest looks nice and magical and inviting.
Yeah.
No, it was just her fear of running into the forest. And the adrenaline that she was literally just trying to be murdered.
Yeah, and I love the fact that they play with it, and it's all it's like, the crocodiles and the gators and like
they make you see
evil trees and the eyes and like
I growing up, that's what I thought forests looked like when they were dark and scary.
They should,
right?
I want a forest like that. That's going to be my yard.
There you go, right? Okay, so then she, the dwarves are sad, of course, that she dies.
Yeah,
she gets magically put into some weird sleeping. I think she's in a coma, and they put her in this glass coffin.
Yeah, this is where the story gets strange because they put her in a glass coffin. In a sunny spot. In a sunny spot. So she's sitting there, and we don't know how long she's actually there.
In
a glass coffin in a sunny spot.
Yeah, and so
she's gonna stink.
She's gonna stink, and God knows, I mean, what's going on right there? Like
what bacteria?
Yeah.
What like?
I don't know why she's. And then the prince shows up, and he's like, you know what? She's been sitting here for this long. God knows how much she probably will smell. I feel like kissing her.
Yeah, she probably smells like hot dog water.
Oh, God, so gross. So then she wakes up magically, of course, because, we learn the magic power of kisses. And
the power of love.
Yeah. And then she rides off on this white horse off into... I had a little toy of them riding on this horse. I remember that. It was a McDonald's toy, and it was Snow White on the prince horse riding off on the white horse. Suddenly flashback on that one. My newest revelation...
Yes, this was interesting. I'm quite happy about this revelation.
So when they show his castle, it is not on ground level. It is up above the clouds.
It is on the clouds.
It is on the clouds. My idea is
it's very angelic.
Did actually die, and she is now going to heaven. The castle is in heaven, and she has finally left some sort of weird, like, stuck on earth purgatory thing going on. And she is now, because she wanted, her idea of heaven would have been being taken away off with this prince and her one true love. And it makes sense. So I believe she didn't wake up from some magical kiss. I believe she finally died. And her spirit has now been set free off into heaven, into the castle, her heaven
with the prince and the.
So that's what I now believe is Snow White died, and that makes so much more sense
when you see it through that lens and you see that end scene where
you can't unsee that.
She goes up in there and then it just ends.
Yeah, you're like, right? No, she just went up to the castle in the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. Deep thoughts, a couple of rads. Viewing Disney movies with an adult lens.
It's totally changed us.
And the realization that most likely their interpretation is that she actually didn't go off to live with a prince in the real world. She did.
Yep. There you go.
Snow White dead.
Snow White died.
Yep.
So we moved on. Next up was Pinocchio.
Yep.
Oh, Pinocchio. This was interesting to pick this one apart.
No, I'm just going to say, like, I still love these movies, but I'm having fun tearing them apart just because.
Nothing's being ruined. Like, I still like.
But and we'll see what happens as we go on to see how we tear them apart in some form, or if we have revelations.
How things will change.
But yeah, so just lay it down right there. We still enjoy these animated movies because from an animation standpoint and technicality, they did so much for cinema that it's spectacular.
Well, Snow White, I mean, changing the idea of the ending doesn't change the amazing credibility of that movie.
It actually makes the movie better to realize that maybe, and then if you
there's a little bit more of a relief of it all.
Yeah, right. Like that idea that like, instead of just viewing it that quick, like, oh, some stranger kissed me and you went off.
Because it seemed creepier that way.
Right. But that realization that most likely she just died and pieced out to her castle in the sky.
Yeah. So Pinocchio was something we hadn't seen for a very long time as well.
Yeah, I remember the ride.
Again, yes, I remember the ride. I remember being stuck on the ride.
We walked off that ride.
It was pretty impressive.
That was kind of spooky.
So Pinocchio has been always one that was strange to me because so much happens. There's so many different scenes and so many different characters in it, opposed to, say, Snow White or, some of the princess movies where it's like, here's our core group of characters. It's like you had Jiminy Cricket, you have the Blue Fairy, you have Geppetto, you have Pinocchio, and then you have the first set of bad guys, and then you have the puppeteer man, and then you have the slave driver guy, and then you have the whale, and oh my goodness, and the fish and the cat, and there's a lot of characters in this movie. Like, there's a lot going on.
There were 7 dwarfs in the last one, but they were one.
They were one person in different characters.
Or maybe she did for a while, and the dwarfs were just purgatory.
Maybe she did die in the scary forest of horribleness. I like that even better.
Right?
I like that even
Maybe
better.
she died in the forest and the dwarfs found her spirit and held her spirit until she was able to feel closure and ascend.
How about the queen, though? How does that fit into it?
She drank poison and died.
Yeah.
And then when she got struck by lightning, went down to hell.
Well, yeah, but like, how does that fit with a Snow White purgatory aspect?
But purgatory is purgatory. We're just all waiting to go.
I guess they're all there. She was probably unsure about what was going on, so she had her own purgatory of still struggling with things, right? So
that's probably why they were so like confused why everything was clean. They had a freaking ghost.
Snow White has now become an official purgatory story, and I love it so much. So much. I can never tell my mom; she would be devastated.
Right? Well, I'm just saying.
I love it. Okay. So Pinocchio. Apparently we had more to say about Snow White than we realized. Okay, so let's say first start off with this here. Pinocchio is adorable in his own right. Geppetto, I have some issues with this man, to say the least. He starts off being a horrible father.
Well, dude's crazy.
Yeah.
He's so lonely, he builds himself a puppet to be his son.
Yeah.
Like, he can't get a girl to get a kid.
Have a son. Yeah.
And he can't even find someone that maybe was widowed with children that he can have, that he has to make his own. And he's like 60.
Yeah. So right? What has he done in his life that he didn't have kids? Because back then that probably would not have been acceptable. So he gets this wish granted, and he has this little wooden boy puppet son. And literally the kid is alive for like 5 hours. And we're just going to send him off to school. We're not going to be like, hey, we're going to get to know you. We're going to figure out how to be a father and son here. We're going to send the little wooden puppet boy off to school. We're not going to take him. We're not going to talk to him about what school is or anything like that. We're not going to pretend that he is literally 5 hours old. And we're just going to send him off into the world and just say, good luck. Make good choices. He doesn't know that he has this weird little, like, cricket conscious thing going on, which I have my own problem with Jiminy Cricket. Oh my goodness. He's this bug that just stumbles in off the street.
Remember, he is a hobo.
He is a hobo. And he randomly decides that he's going to be his conscious. Now, the blue
fairy just randomly finds in the house.
Yes. So then this whole song about the conscious being your guide, while I appreciate the lesson there, you cannot expect a child to follow their conscience when conscious is only based on experience and learned things. You have to know what's right and wrong, and the conscious helps you make the choice between what you know is right and wrong. If you don't know, there is nothing to choose from. Then you're just going off whatever sounds good. And Pinocchio is a pure... It's just that. It's like, oh, someone's nice to me. This sounds like it's fun. He doesn't know any better. He doesn't know, well, maybe there's a stranger there. So then I say, well, no, I shouldn't be doing this. He never
allows his conscience to be his guide.
No, but Jimmy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about either.
But he said, don't go. And Pinocchio's like, bitch, I'm an actor.
But he said, don't go. But did he give him a reason?
No. Because he didn't know the reason. Because his conscience had learned.
Because his conscience had no idea why it was the right choice. Because Geppetto didn't tell him why he needed to go to school, that, you know what, there was going to be a consequence if you didn't go to school. Because, again, a conscience only helps you when you know there's a consequence for something. Okay. Very uppity about this movie now. Anyways. That's just like the first, 20 minutes of the movie.
It's like the first 10.
So then he goes taking off and he becomes a showman. And then
he gets wooed by a
bamboozled.
fox.
He gets kidnapped.
Basically, they're like, and this is something that all parents should teach their children. If someone comes up to you, and which is sad because the generation we live in right now, if someone says, hey, you want to be famous? I can make you famous. Come with me.
The answer is no.
Right? They're not telling you what you're going to do. Most likely you're going to do porn. And he's a child, so let's think about that for a moment.
Well,
so these guys trick this kid to go put on a show with an old man and his other puppets.
Yeah.
So first lesson is don't go with strangers.
First lesson is go to school.
Well, yeah.
Don't go with strangers.
Don't go with strangers, because even if they tell you they're going to make you famous, it's not going to be the way you want it to be.
No, you don't have the control over that. So then, of course, now he also got into a bad business deal and became a slave of this man and put in a cage. So then you have that issue. And then we have human trafficking.
But we also learn about not lying.
Yes, we do.
Because lying gets you in even deeper, right? Because they were all...
You know what's funny is I remember Pinocchio's nose from this movie when I was younger, right? That's like the only thing I remember from this movie, of the idea that if you lie, that it just comes bigger and bigger on your face concept, and it's hard to get out of. That's like the only lesson I remember from this movie.
Really?
Yeah.
There's a lot, though.
There's a lot in this movie, but that's the one I remember, which is interesting. So
then if you get in a bad situation and then someone's like, hey, the same people that sold you into a bad situation come up and find you and say, hey, okay, that didn't work out. I've got something better for you. How about we go live a life where you don't have to do anything? You can party all the time. So
why was he able to make that choice where he could just do whatever he wanted when he had literally no experience of being in rules? He had never had to have responsibilities. He didn't even know what he was running away from.
He was just susceptible because it was the idea of being,
he just wanted to be accepted, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the other kids were like, they didn't want to be following the rules because they knew what rules were.
Yeah.
They didn't want to go to school because they knew what school was.
Yeah.
Pinocchio had no idea what he was even running away from.
Yeah.
But then again, I guess there's that element too, where a lot of kids don't even realize what they don't have to worry about. Even our son is like, he's got minuscule responsibilities in all reality, and yet they're still like so heartbreaking to him, right? He has no idea what it would really be like. So,
yeah.
Okay, there's that. Anyway, I digress.
But so then they go off to Pleasure Island, right? And that's one thing I always thought was funny was that in downtown Disney in Florida always had Pleasure Island, all their bars and all that. And like, granted, it was just Grab It, but at the same time, it was like, you guys are naming your like club zone after
something really scary,
and horrific.
I really love the symbolism in Pleasure Island. I think it's really well done. I always thought it was just like weird that they were turning into donkeys. Like it was just like, but I never said it out loud of they were making asses of themselves. And then you're like, oh, that makes more sense. Yeah. So I thought that was...
Well, they're drinking, they're delinquency, they're smoking, they're doing all these things, but then they're becoming menial laborers.
Yeah. They don't have a mind. They're just brute force. And it was an interesting concept on the idea of how easy then it is to, if you give them some vices and stuff like that, how people in general will just then they'll
fall into servitude.
They work for you because then you get them kind of hooked on these vices for things, and then it's really hard to find your way back out of it. Yep. And that's a real world situation.
That was I've experienced when I was like watching that, I was like, damn, that's deep.
Yeah,
like, they went there with that.
Yeah,
and it's back in the 40s.
Yeah, because I have seen that. I mean, I've worked around my fair share of blue collar workers there, and it's hard to get out of that. It's a life that they're susceptible to.
Yeah.
So it was pretty impressive. So yeah.
And then we have the after that, he finally escapes that and gets in the belly of a whale.
Yeah, I always thought that was a weird mix. I sometimes, as I say, the movie just has weird chunks of things. Like, just there's so much happening.
I think they were trying to get this story done fast, right?
Yeah.
Because 60 minutes was a long time back then for animation.
Yeah.
When they were still used to like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. So
I love that the fish bowl is still intact in the belly of the whale. And at the end of the movie, after being thrown around the ocean.
Yeah.
The fish bowl is magical.
Well, I think you have to also look at the whale as being like what swallowed Geppetto. It's his life, his search for Pinocchio.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily a whale.
No, it's the debt.
It's the sleeplessness, the hunger.
Well, so different than
what's crushing him, right?
Yeah.
It's eating him up.
Yeah,
right. That idea.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah, it's life in general. You're right, and the idea. So then
because he's even
everything,
right?
All those old stories are all full of symbolism and allegories for real world. So the whale would be no different. It's just no different than Pleasure Island and making asses of themselves. Yeah. It's all an allegory, right? Mm-hmm. So that would be no different for that. So, but I always thought it was funny that the intensity of it, that Pinocchio realizes how to try to get out of there right away too. It was impressive amount of intelligence that he suddenly showed. But how scary that whale was. And I guess if you think about it then on how, if you put it on a more of a life feeling, how much it can still chase you, how hard it is to get out of and away from and escape that.
The depression,
that the soul crushing aspect of some things about life. And apparently then for him, obviously a child meant a lot of things. And that was the thing that helped him successfully pull out of that crushing. It's so deep now. See, I can get so angry and then I'm like so emotionally overwhelmed with it. That pulled him out of it and eventually, he was able to break free, right? Yeah. So, it's deep, man. It's deep.
But because it shows that Pinocchio having to sacrifice himself, showing responsibility, is what gets him to become a real boy. And
because the difference is up until then he was just making choices based on himself. So it's the maturity, because as children we cannot make a decision that's based on someone else's well-being. It's very rare for a child to have the concept of thinking of someone else, and especially a newborn.
Right.
Is just impossible. All they care about is what makes them happy and what they need. And so it is him growing up, even just a very quick version of it, but the realization that you think about other people and how you can help other people. And I guess, and you were talking, that's why he's rewarded with the idea of being a real boy, is because he did make that sacrifice.
There's also that fact, you could also pick apart this and think that maybe they actually didn't come out of that whole thing. They're swallowed up in there.
Oh, we have another death. No, I like this one. I like that they escaped the soul crushing aspect.
Because they just, why would the blue fairy guess what, you're back. Yeah, you're a real boy. I don't think she's that powerful. I think she's
she's a magical light in the sky, man. She's super powerful.
No.
You're supposed to wish upon a star, man.
I do. I ain't seen no blue fairy.
I just see freaking whales.
I don't know what I need to be taken to see the blue fairy, but I ain't seen it, so. But that's the thing that's interesting with it, is that it creates all those things, and it's those types of stories that seem scarier from that need to have those discussions with children and be like, hey, this is stuff, there's a fox and all that and a silly puppet man and a cricket, but there's people out there that are like this fox, that they will kidnap you and put you into human trafficking.
Yeah.
Literally,
we're not joking. You know what? And this movie is a perfect example of how you can have that conversation with a kid about a more appropriate way to discuss really important safety events. But then as we get older now, you can see, this revelation of the whale and stuff like that, where you can look at it in a different way. And I think that's one thing that's magical about these stories is we could choose to watch it just purely from the silly point of view, or we can find something deeper from it. And it's our choice to still find that enjoyment in it. And it can have those different levels of meanings. And that's what will make it stand the test of time. And I think it's not just the Disney movies. Obviously, these are old stories.
Yeah.
But then the concept of these old stories then being told into a medium like this. But these old stories are famous this way because they any story that has an allegory to it will stand much longer than something that you can't find different meanings to, right? And that's why these movies are going to stand up for so much longer rather than other animated movies that don't have an allegory behind
the substance behind it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, wow. I feel so enlightened with watching Pinocchio. I'm impressed.
Right? That's the adult lens takes everything. If you don't look at it, you look at it different, right?
Yeah. So. And last up,
Dumbo. Now, Dumbo, I don't even remember the last time I watched that.
I didn't even really remember it, but as soon as I watched it, I'm like, okay, I remember this. I remember this.
Well, because we watched the remake.
I was devastated. I was worried to watch this and worried about the animal cruelty aspect of things and the ripping from his mom. I was just not looking forward to this at all. But I handled it pretty well because at least everything comes around in the end.
He's dead too.
Yeah, they're all dead. He actually died in the fire with the clowns, right? He OD'd on the pink elephant.
Yeah, he took that lovely concoction of soap and booze and he died.
Out, how we can find out that everyone's actually dead in all the Disney movies. How can we bring that around? That's going to be a challenge now, is how can we explain that everyone actually died?
Okay, I'm on this.
Okay, I know
I'm on this.
But anyways, without everyone dying, Dumbo is a bit chaotic, right? Too. There's a lot of shit happening.
That doesn't make a whole lick of sense.
No, it's
all over the board because first you've got like the storks dropping.
I love, by the way, that the packages of the babies are all the same size no matter what kind of animal they are.
Yeah, right.
I think that's hilarious.
And then you got the Casey Jr. train, and suddenly the train's animated. Like, I mean, the entire movie's animated. I get it, but the fact that nothing else has a face, but the train has a face.
The train is a being.
And he is his own sentient being. So that's
because he talks, man.
Yeah, and that's weird. But like,
you know what's funny is because there's always
the storks talk too, but the elephants don't, and now the other animals talk.
Yeah, but just the one stork talks, and the vultures things talk. And the crows. I mean, the crows sing. Yeah. Well, why does
the mouse talks?
What's
Timothy?
Why does he talk?
Yeah.
Well, the big elephants talk. The adults talk, though. Yeah. None of the other animals talk, but Dumbo just doesn't. So, but what was I going to say? Storks, the crows, animals. I don't know.
Sorry.
We'll get there.
But yeah, it's chaotic. It goes everywhere.
Oh, the train. The concept of the little train engine that could. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I always mix them up, and I always thought because he talks about I think I can, mm-hmm. was I always just assumed they were the same train. Because why is it this weird motivational train concept? Why do we need to have an inspirational train engine? I don't get that.
Right? It just out of nowhere, right? It never comes back too.
Yeah.
It never is yeah. So I thought that was really weird. My favorite scene though in the entire movie is the pink elephants.
Yeah, that was by far the best scene ever.
It's like the greatest scene
One
ever.
of the best animated scenes ever made, quite honestly.
It feels like it was like a reject. You know what? I was thinking about it when I was rewatching it. I was like, this feels like they did the pink elephant scene for Fantasia and they were like, nah, this ain't going to work. And they're like, well, we got this scene. What can we do with it?
Let's get Dumbo drunk.
Right? How can we fit this in another movie?
All I can see is inspiration for Heffalumps and Woozles.
Yeah.
That's all I ever... And I think that's why I knew Heffalumps and Woozles so well when I was younger that I think the pink elephants got kind of blended into that. As I was younger, I don't remember that as well separately, right? So,
and that's something I was really disappointed when they did the live action one, that the pink elephants were so downplayed.
Yeah, because I was expecting that should have been a shining star moment of that movie.
That should have been the greatest movie moment ever,
right?
Right,
that was a lost opportunity.
Even the fact that Fantasmic has better pink elephant music than the movie did, right? So,
and I think with Dumbo too, I mean, a lot of it, I don't know how much deep thoughts are in there other than the very on the surface of being accepting of yourself and your unique gifts and accepting of others. And
it's very timely for the world right now, though.
Yeah.
Right.
He's visibly born with something that he can't change, and nothing is actually wrong with him other than he is different than the others.
Yeah.
And, he just needs to, he is accepting himself, and, then he finds out that he does have his own value to add to the world, just like everyone else would. And it doesn't have to be a form of entertainment for you. If he chooses to be that way, then he chooses to be that way, but otherwise he is just fine the way he is, and yeah, that's, I mean, you can't get much more inspirational and better for a kids movie than that type of thing, right? So I love the high roll and caboose car they have at the end of the movie. The other thing that's funny is how abruptly it ends. It's just oh yeah, everyone loves you. Boom, we're done. Yeah. It's what?
Ran out of film.
Okay. That was a really short movie. It's only an hour long.
Yeah.
And it's just shorter than Snow White and and Pinocchio. And yeah, that was just weird. It was just like so much going on, and then we just stopped.
Right? So. It is definitely strange because it takes so long to get to where he flies.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's so sad and depressing and just kind of dull.
There's not, right? You don't ever get the moment of like happiness from it.
Yeah, I know, there's no like uplifting songs or anything like Snow White and even Pinocchio. They've got those moments where like, yeah, I'm having some fun, even though there's some dark shit happening, right? Dumbo doesn't really have that,
except for the
pink
crows.
Elephants
and the pink elephants and the crows. The crows are like,
but the crows unfortunately are very stereotypical.
They are.
The jive talking.
Very much.
You can see where.
Luckily, they were positive.
Yeah.
But they're very stereotypical and very easily could be construed as racist. For sure. So, you thought it was interesting though that his ability to understand and try the new. Try something different was based after a binge night of alcohol.
Yeah.
It's like, shit, I got myself in a weird situation. Let's see how I can get out of this now. And
he's still drunk.
And then, amazing
he's
things happen.
He's still so drunk that he's like, well, I flew up here, so I'm going to fly down.
So I don't know if that's a good message that it's showing, that you can unlock your potential by drinking a lot and blacking out, but
mixing substances, getting blackout drunk.
Yeah.
You get superpowers. And then having your
friends egg you on, being like, sure, you can do this. Because I've never seen it happen, so let's make you the first. Okay, see, so now we found a dark twisty.
Right? Dumbo's dead.
Dumbo died as he fell from the tree.
He fell from the tree, and his little. That's why the fire. He was like trying. He was almost going to get sent to hell, and he flew out, and then he's flying over top of his mama's thing as an angel. Dumbo dead.
Dumbo dead.
I have struck again.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, I can take that. Okay.
Right. That's what happened.
Because it ended too nicely.
Yeah.
He's in heaven.
Yeah, he flew off to heaven.
He OD'd. He drank too much. Did some stupid shit.
He fell out of a tree. Had a weird trip of like, where am I going? I could end up in these flames, or I could fly off.
Oh, okay. I can't argue.
Dumbo dead.
It's impressive. Wow. Damn, we're 3 for 3 on this.
Right? I'm killing so everyone excited. In the Disney universe. Just imagine the next few weeks.
Oh, it's going to be...
Childhoods will be ruined. I can actually say that. Because then you'll go back and you'll watch it.
Oh, because some of these are going to be hard, yeah.
And you're going to be like, damn.
Okay. Well, I'm curious now, so... Well, there you go. We look at all of the stuff we got to talk about.
Right? So
you've been with us for so long.
Isn't that exciting? It's a supersized episode.
It is, because we're supersized.
Supersizing this episode.
I think we need to stop.
You need to cope with that? So yeah, enjoy this here because it's Indiana June.
Yeah,
and we'll be back.
A lot of other things too.
We'll be back with
killing Disney characters left, right, and center.
It's a new show.
Yeah,
it's a new segment.
Yeah, and on today's episode, we kill this Disney character.
I'll be looking for that in every animated movie now.
Yep, I know.
To find out
how did they actually die?
What was actually the intent?
I that's impressive. Okay, there we go.
So
I like it. So next week is Temple of Doom.
And then
whatever else we try to watch.
Yeah, see what we can fit in there. So you know what? Be kind, rewind, stay rad.
Take care of yourself and stand up for what you believe in. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and have a wonderful day. Thank you for listening. Want more rad content? Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe, rate us, and leave us a review.
And remember, be excellent to each other and party on, dudes!